This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Nightbloom Vodka. Nightbloom is an American-made craft vodka of the highest standard. Nightbloom offers a diverse range of extraordinary blends using artisanal ingredients to create a truly unique taste of vodka. Check out their three main vodka lines, Nightbloom N1, N2, and N3, all curated for different taste buds. Make sure to grab yourself a bottle of Nightbloom before your next pay-per-view watch at nightbloomspirits.com. We'll link them below in our bio as well. Shout out to Nightbloom. Welcome back, everybody, to the Word Around the Ring podcast. If you forgot, my name is Big Rob, and I'll let my tag team partner reintroduce himself.
You could call me King Jess, and we're the only podcast that makes you wait this long for a Survivor Series review. We have a lot to get through. We've been gone for a while, so let's get to it, Rob.
Yes, sir. It has been a little bit of a long time. We haven't recorded an episode since Thanksgiving, so want to make sure all of our listeners know we wished you a happy Thanksgiving. We hope you had a fantastic holiday. You ate some good food, ate some turkey, some mashed potatoes, some hams, whatever it may be. I hope you had a good plate of food. We're surrounded by some friends, some family, and you felt love and we're in a great atmosphere for that celebratory night. But before we kick things off, Jess, just want to ask you, how was your Thanksgiving? Any plates of food that you enjoyed on during the holidays?
We actually had a pretty ghetto Thanksgiving this year because I was about to go on vacation, like the day of Thanksgiving, like that night. So we had a pretty chill. Just like we ordered some KFC and we watched a couple movies here at the house. Um, but overall, like you said, I was surrounded by people that I love, and we got to hang out. So I thought that was awesome. That was an awesome way to spend Thanksgiving before I left. How was your Thanksgiving? Did you get to spend it with your family?
Yeah, lucky enough, it was a calm Thanksgiving for myself. Spent it with my parents. Ate some Salvadorian dishes. I
Ooh.
cannot complain. But I'm happy and excited to be back. I know we have a lot to talk about. A lot has not just happened in the world of wrestling, but a lot has just happened in the world in general. With some pop culture moments such as Kendrick Lamar dropping an album out of nowhere. If you guys haven't listened to it yet, please go check that out. And in the same breath, in the world of wrestling, so many fucking crazy things have happened at the return of Drew McIntyre this week on Monday Night Raw. We're hearing some rumors and rumblings of a potential match between CM Punk and Seth Rollins at the first Netflix on Raw. So much going on, so much to talk about. But before we get into all that, we got to backtrack and rewind a little bit to a few weeks ago, a few weekends ago, when Survivor Series War Games, the pay per view, took place. And just a card that I think we both were excited for off of initial thoughts. I really did enjoy the show. I thought it could have been put together or pieced together a little bit better in terms of the order of the match card. Um, but overall, I did thoroughly enjoy Survivor Series. There's a lot of fallout that we need to discuss. The first match of the night was the women's war game match. Team Nia Jackson, Liv Morgan, to against Team Super Rhea. And so, just for the listeners, for those of you who didn't get the opportunity to watch the match, it was Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Bailey, Naomi, and Io Sky on one side, on one team against Liv Morgan, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Raquel Rodriguez, and Candice LeRae. I recognize some of you may not know who Raquel Rodriguez or Candice LeRae were prior to this match, but I hope you got acquainted with them throughout. One glaring difference, just going through that lineup of women, was that Team Liv and Nia Jax, of course, had two of the WWE Women's World Champions, while the other side, Rhea Ripley's team, had Bianca Belair, which was the only champion on that side, and she is a tag champ, so not even a full champion to say the least. All in all, initial thoughts on this match here was a very rough start to say the least. Nia
Mm.
Jax actually kicked off this match against Bailey uh, to start, and I've been singing Nia's praises. for a little bit over the couple episodes that we've recorded. I've said she's gotten better, and she has from her first stint in the WWE. But man, was I just disappointed in her outing during Survivor Series. Just looked lackluster, looked slow, and just looked like she didn't want to be there. Wasn't putting her full force and emphasis on some of these moves, especially some of the chair shots that were taking place here. And she just looked really lazy and slowed the match down quite a bit. And I just don't think the whole War Games Hell in a Cell match is a gimmick that she is able to pull off. It doesn't work with her and her move set. And I was just disappointed, and you could just it was just glaring to me. Those are my first initial thoughts on like the first half of the match. I want to give you an opportunity to either agree, disagree, or just what are your thoughts on how that match kicked off, and any initial thoughts prior before we headed to the start of the match.
I think I'm with you. I think we both were singing Nia Jax's praises earlier this year because she did come back and she showed us a lot of improvement. And I don't know if maybe it was just the nerves that got to her, or if maybe it was being in the setting of being with so many other women. But I'm with you. I think she dropped the ball pretty heavy during this match, and we didn't get to see that Nia Jax that we've grown to kind of appreciate within the last couple of months. So that was kind of sad. But at the same time, you you're in the ring with a bunch of aces. Like you said, you had Bianca Belair, you have Rhea Ripley, you have Io Sky. Io, I feel like they have to pull her out every year for this match. She's been in every single Survivor Series War Games female match since they started letting females do this. And they bring her out and she kills it every time. How you're going to outdo her, who knows? And I think they tried this year. We'll get into it right now when we proceed the match, but I think they tried to with Tiffany Shine getting her moment at the same time. But I just think Io is just so clean. She's just a master at what she does that it can be a little intimidating to be in the ring with these females, and maybe that's just what got to Nia Jax, and she wasn't able to deliver. But at this point, if you're carrying that belt, stuff like that shouldn't really bother you. So I have no idea what went wrong there, but I agree with you. I feel like this was a little bit of a rough start at the beginning of this match, but overall, I would say that. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. But I would say that the female match for War Games was better than the men's.
Uh, those those are fighting words. Um, that is
Flabbergasted.
crazy. But we can talk about that later. That is crazy. I say that is listen, as the match unfolded, we did get a lot of good spots. You mentioned Io Sky, Stephanie Stratton. If I must say so myself, these two women carried this match. Like the moments that I thoroughly enjoyed from they had a sequence when they both entered the ring and they entered the cage. They had a sequence where they did like sort of that routine where they hit the ropes. They run and hit the ropes. They dodge each other. One of them jumps over themselves. They do a couple flips and then they meet in the middle of the fucking mat. They look at the crowd and the crowd goes nuts. It's like the Will Ospreay and Ricochet sequence. But they did that and I did appreciate that. Like I think when there's opportunities for those moments, it's fantastic. And they made it look great. Io Sky, Tiffany Stratton, two of the best in the women's division and fan favorites. Um, and I really enjoyed their outing for this particular match. They always give Io Sky a crazy spot. Crazy fucking spot. I remember last year she jumped off of the cage and it was a different iteration of what she did this year's pay-per-view, but this year she headed up to the top of the cage. She puts she carried a trash can with her with a rope that was attached to the trash can. She laid it over her back like like a backpack, climbed up the cage, got up to the corner of the cage, put it on put the trash can on top of herself, and then jumped off of the fucking cage. It was like 15 feet and landed on Nia Jax's team, and the crowd lost their fucking mind. And on the other side, at the same time, I think this spot was supposed to happen simultaneously. But Io Sky, because she was blinded with the trash can over her head, she jumped a little too early. But she jumped, landed with Team Nia Jax, and on the other half of the ring, Tiffany Stratton was on the top of the cage as well, and she hit a moonsault at the same time. And it was just perfect. It was both fucking great moves. It gave us that gasp, that audible gasp that at least I had when I was watching the match. And they landed it perfectly. Both women were safe. Unlike the men's war game match, we'll get into that where we had a couple spots there too. But both women landed safely, and it served as for me one of the best spots of the match. What did you think of those two particular spots? And would you agree with that being your favorite, or do you have another spot in mind that you remember from the match?
No, I think over just the night in general, I think that was probably the best spot of the night, and within all the matches, just it's a crazy spectacle to see. We've already seen Io Sky do this once, and I like that she kind of, well, I would say she kind of like customized her own trash can for this one, but we've seen her do it before, and I love that Tiffany said, you know what, we can in sync it, um and I could do a flip off the cage instead, because she's great at doing that kind of stuff, and it just looked great, and it looked impactful. Like you said, it took down both teams, and it just created that moment in the match that we needed, to like say, oh shit, who's gonna win this. But I thought it was great. I love that spot.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I thought it was great. And I just Io is just immensely talented, man. And we know she has an upcoming match this weekend against Liv Morgan for the WWE Women's World Championship. I won't be surprised if she beat Liv. I really won't, and she'd be deservingly she'd be a deserving champion. And I'd be happy for her. I know we've seen her carry it for a bit already, but I would be excited and I'd be okay with Liv losing on Saturday night. But shout out to Io Sky. I thought she had the performance of the night throughout the entire pay per view. And as the match continued, so we know now that trash cans are in the ring. Somehow, some way, throughout all of this, Tiffany into a trash can and pulled out her money in the bank briefcase. And it wouldn't be a WWE pay-per-view, I guess, if there wasn't another fucking tease with this briefcase that turned into nothing. Because after she fucking moonsaulted from the cage, and there was just all the women were laid out. Liv Morgan, Nia Jax were both laid out. Tiffany grabbed the briefcase and she stared at both of them, debating on who she should on. And the crowd started to go nuts. And I actually, maybe I'm just a fool, maybe I'm just an idiot for believing that we might have gotten a cash in. But before she could decide on who she was going to cash in on, she got distracted, and Io Sky used the fire extinguisher to beat her ass. Um, and it just all went to shit. And I was pissed again. That pissed me off because why are we continuing to get these teases and nothing is happening? And honestly, with the announcements of two new women's mid card championships, the Women's United States Championship and the Women's Intercontinental, I would not be surprised. As my good friend Will brought up, I would now not be surprised that she actually cashes in her money in the bank briefcase on one of the new titles. What were your thoughts on seeing Tiffany bring that briefcase out during this match? And
Well,
your first thoughts and opinions on the potential cash in on one of the new titles?
my first thoughts were, how would this even work? Like, does this end the match here? With her just winning the belt? Would the match continue after that? Would they just let her out and let her leave? Like, I had no idea what to think. So, just with those thoughts going around my mind, I was like, maybe she's not going to catch it. Maybe someone will interrupt it. And that's exactly what happened. But I think I'm on the same page with you where, like, how many times are we going to tease at the cash in? Like, if you were planning on having her hold it for a while, don't have her tease as much, because once you tease it that much, you kind of lose that mystique of like when it finally gets cashed in. And I, as a fan, personally don't like that. So I would like it if they would have just kept it more to a few attempted cash ins and then finally the overall cash in, which I expect her to win. But there's also that chance of it going so long now, maybe she doesn't win. And I guess we'll see that in the next couple of weeks. But Her now, I think she's now vying for the IC belt, right? That's what you said. Um, I think that's a great belt for her too. If she decides to wait till that tournament concludes and then cashes in on something that's not one of the main titles, I would be fine with that too. I don't know how you feel about that.
Nah, I wouldn't be fine with it. I think she needs to win. She doesn't need to win anything. But
Okay,
if she's the Money in the Bank briefcase holder, I would want her to win the title that makes the most sense for her story against Nia Jax. I think that'd be the title that Nia Jax is holding. Like that's what I want to see. That is what makes the most sense. It wouldn't make sense for her to take it off of Liv. It wouldn't make sense for her to cash in on the new champions. Um, but I just wouldn't be surprised if that's the direction that they go in. I would disagree. I would love to see her as the WWE Women's Champion on SmackDown, and I think that's going to open the floodgates for a much more interesting story and much more interesting matches as we head into WrestleMania season. We know Charlotte Flair is supposed to be returning. We might get some new women called up on the main roster as well. So you never know. I just think that there's a better story if Tiffany cashes in on Nia Jax.
I can agree with that. I mean, at the end of the day, that is a storyline that we've been kind of like building towards. I just don't know because WWE likes to shift a lot of the storylines. Sometimes we've seen it several times over the past couple months with like the New Testament and like New Day and Axiom and Frazier. They like kind of guide you thinking like this is the way we're going, and then last minute they'll change it up. So I didn't know if maybe like they like the dynamic between Tiffany and Naya, and they just want to keep that going, and maybe that's why she would cash in on another champion. But I'm with you. I think it would make a lot more sense if they finish the storyline up, and we would see her cash in on Naya, and eventually have that as a feud. But I guess we'll have to wait and see in these upcoming weeks.
Definitely, we're just gonna have to be patient, I guess. But I won't be surprised if we get another fucking tease on Saturday night's main event. So
Oh,
we're
that's
just
true.
gonna have to wait and see. But moving forward into the match, not too much happened following the carnage off of the top of the cage from Io Sky and Tiffany Stratton. And as we were talking about earlier, story is important. Story is king. There wasn't really much story between the women in this match besides Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. And that, of course, is how the match would conclude. We saw Rhea Ripley actually take Liv Morgan up to the top of the turnbuckle and hit a riptide on her through a table as the final spot of the match. And she pinned the WWE Women's World Champion. And just watching it, big fan of Rhea. I fucks with Rhea. Rhea is fantastic. The crowd loves her. She has the ultimate look. Like she's amazing. Top star. No doubts about it. But I just don't think that they needed to win this match. I didn't understand why you chose the team with neither of your current champions to win this match. I I think Liv Morgan and Nia Jax would have been much better off. I highly doubt it was an audible call during the match just because of Nia's performance. I think they were going into that match knowing that Rhea was going to win. And that was just disappointing to me. Not because I don't like Rhea, but I just didn't agree with seeing both champions lose on the same team. I don't think that's a good look for those champions. How do you feel about the outcome of this match? Rhea putting Liv through the table. Where do you see that feud finally playing out? We've seen it take place over the last year and some change. I would like no, I would say the past 9 months. Um, but yeah, just an overall thoughts on the ending of that match.
I The match in general, I would say that I enjoyed very much. I think that the ladies outdid themselves like always. They go out there and they put a phenomenal show on for the most part, especially when it's this group of women. You know that you got a good match coming. Um, I'm with you on the fact that like we have been at the storyline for a while. So when do we finally conclude it? Rhea going over Liv just helps to keep it alive. So what are they waiting for? Is what I'm. I'm trying to figure, and maybe that is you brought her up earlier. Maybe it is Charlotte. Maybe they want Rhea winning off of Liv to have Charlotte pop on Rhea as a surprise return. And maybe she's just not ready yet. I don't know what her medical process has been uh since the last time that she came out and she said that she was ready. I don't know, maybe something got complicated or not, but we've been waiting for a hot minute. I would say maybe fucking WrestleMania, last WrestleMania. Um, that's how long at least I've known that she had been medically cleared to some point. So I don't know. I wouldn't want this feud to go too much more longer because we've been at it for a hot minute. So whenever it decides to conclude, whether that be at someplace like fucking Saturday night or even Raw on Netflix, I feel like this has to come to an end, I should say, pretty soon. At least for my taste.
Yeah, I don't need to see them face each other at WrestleMania. It doesn't need to drag out that long. I think even like a Royal Rumble would make have this feud end there. But I think they do need to put a bow on it now. If this has been your top between the women's roster over the last 9 months, like I just think there's a lot more talent there that they could be paying attention to. Um, and I'm glad they're getting that opportunity now with Io Sky again. She's challenging for the title, so there are pockets of hope here, but I just need them to, go beyond the Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley storyline already. It's taken its place. We've introduced new characters to the story like Raquel Rodriguez. We've seen the breakup of the Judgment Day. We've seen the Terror Twins. Like it's the same cycle over and over again. I want to see something new. Let's get Rhea in some new programs. Let's get Liv in some new programs. And then maybe one day, in a year or so, if you want to run it back, then so be it. But would love to see them go their separate ways for a little bit. And that's not to say I haven't enjoyed their storyline. I think it's been enjoyable and it's had a great moments to say the least. Like fucking Dominic turning on Rhea at SummerSlam and kissing Liv, probably a moment of the year. No one saw that shit coming. And that shit was fucking sick. It was so funny. So moments like that, and uh I just want to see them go on their separate ways and enjoy a few new feuds. But overall, I thought it was a fun match. Thought it was a fun match. Disappointed with some of the balanced outings that night, especially fucking
Nia
Nia
Jax.
Jax. But you know what? Just have to wait and see. She performs the next time around. They decide to put her in a fucking pay per view. But was disappointed in her to say the least. She needs to get that shit together. If you're gonna hit someone with a fucking chair, then actually hit someone with a fucking chair. Don't pull out halfway through. It just looks like shit on TV. But first of all, I must say, I think it's absolutely crazy. You said that this shit is
Here
better
it
than the
comes. Here
men's
it comes.
in the men's War Games match. We're not even gonna get to the men's War Games match. I'm just gonna need you to remember what you said. But
My brother.
before we can get there,
My brother.
uh,
Before we move on, let's rank the match. How many steel cages out of 5 do you give the women's working match?
I would give it. I would give it probably a three.
Three
Probably a
steel
three.
cages.
That's me being nice. What would you give it?
I would say I give it a 4. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. In score, they're not going to differentiate. Like the men's is probably also going to score 4, but I feel like I had a lot more fun watching this one as opposed to some of the dead pockets that we had in the men's one. We could, agree to disagree on
Dead
this one, but I
pockets.
just I just feel like
Dead
I feel
pockets.
like this one was just a little more entertaining in my taste,
Dead pockets. Oh, the first 5 minute was a dead pocket when it was just Nia Jax and Bailey in the middle of the ring. And I fuck with Bailey. I really do. Bailey is great. I think Bailey is fantastic when she's in the ring with a good opponent, but it was just hard for me. I think what made this match a little bit more difficult for me to get through were just the first 5 minutes. Because we had Naomi and Bailey start off and Naomi started sorry, Nia Jax started off so slow and just so clunky. It just made it a lot more difficult to get into the match when things started to heat up. But they eventually did start to heat up when we got Tiffany Stratton, Naomi in the match, when we got Candice LeRae, when we got Liv Morgan, Io Sky, etc. When we got the women in the match, the other women, it started to heat up. But those first 5 minutes, they were crucial, man. I just didn't enjoy them. I'm harping on it a lot, but it's just I don't know. I just think you're bugged out with thinking that this shit was better than the men's, but we'll get to it when we get to it. But another match in a moment that hurt my dear soul. My dear soul. I can't fucking understand it, man. Was the Shinsuke versus LA Knights match for the United States Championship. I was heading in, excited. LA Knights finally gets a formidable foe. Someone we haven't seen in a while. Shinsuke's been off of television. He appears over the last couple of weeks before Survivor Series, attacking LA Knight during his matches, hitting him with the mist, just looking like an ultimate badass, following like a 6, 7 month hiatus. This brother hasn't been on television since Cody put him out. And he comes back and he's beating LA Knight's ass, interfering in his matches. And you start to see a little bit of that twinkle in LA Knight's eye start to fade away. Start to see the confidence, get drained out of LA Knight. I started to get a little worried, watching SmackDown and my dog LA Knight kind of get abused by Shinsuke over the course of 2 weeks. I was a little worried, but never in my mind did I think in his first match against Shinsuke would he lose his championship at Survivor Series. But that is what happened. But we could see we could see it being played out during the entrances, man. Fucking Shinsuke comes out, brother comes out to a new version of his song, which was already great. I love the Shinsuke song. Comes out wearing a straw hat in a very dark clothing. They turned off the lights for his entrance. They focused the spotlight on him as he made up his made up way up the ramp with some fog playing as well. And he just had a sick I think it was a samurai mask, half a samurai mask. I might be mistaken. But he had half a mask on and he just looked fantastic. He looked like he was about to beat someone's ass. Looked like you were getting this shit straight off of a Japanese horror movie. He was coming for a fucking win. So I seeing him already, I was already nervous. Said, hold up now. Let me see what LA Knight's coming with. And the LA Knight music hits, the crowd goes a little crazy. My LA Knight, yeah. But while he was walking his way up to the ring, he dropped the belt. The belt. I'm 25 years old. In all my life, in all the hours I spent watching wrestling, I cannot recall the time that a champion dropped, accidentally dropped their belt before a match. Now, was it staged? Did it happen organically? I can answer that question. Only LA Knight can answer that question. But when I saw the brother drop the belt, I knew it was over. It was over. And the match itself, it wasn't the craziest of matches. It wasn't even a long match. I would bet the shit was like under 6 minutes. And it was really Shinsuke just beating LA Knight's ass, having a counter for every one of his offensive moves. And it was really just an ass whooping. At no point did the tide turn for LA Knight. Besides him hitting his signature pop-up elbow that he does from the top of the rope, where he jumps from the second rope, the top of the rope, hits the elbow. Besides that, and a few offensive sets that he got in. I'd say Nakamura dominated this shit like 80-20, and it wasn't even fucking close. It wasn't even fucking close. And Nakamura, there was a point where he realized, like, I got this shit in the bag. I don't really got to do nothing. Let me suplex. LA Knights on the in the steel plate in between the two rings, because this is War Games, there were two rings next to each other, connected by a steel plate. And Shinsuke decided to drop LA Knight on his head on that steel plate. LA Knight rolled back into the ring. Shinsuke hit his Kinshasa, the knee to the back of LA Knight's head, pinned him. 1, 2, 3 off of first pin. 1, 2, 3. And it's over. And LA Knight's title reign is done. And I'm sitting there with my fucking jaw on the ground because I'm sick, bro. Sick to my stomach. I fuck with Nakamura. I think Shinsuke Nakamura is great. But I was so hurt for my boy LA Knight. I just couldn't help but ask, was there something that he did backstage? Is there someone that he ruffled their feathers? Have this happened to him? I'm still in agony for him, and it just sucks to. But I understand, you know, we come back stronger. I hope we can come back stronger, LA Knight. I really do, because I rock with you, bro, and I want to see you succeed. And maybe this means you're going and moving on to bigger and better things. Maybe we're gonna get you back in those world title pictures. Maybe. Nakamura kind of fucked you up, and I think you need to get your shit back, bro. Really do. I've gone on quite a bit. I was very passionate about this match. I want to hear your thoughts on Shinsuke coming back from an 8-month hiatus, winning the United States Championship. Overall thoughts. Now, do you also think, if you do think, you also think we're going to get the rematch between these two individuals? And if so, when do you think that's going to take place? Take it away. Take it away.
Listen, Nakamura is a notorious surfer. That's the whole reason why he decided to come to WWE, is because he said that the surf was better in the States, okay? And I think it was about fucking time someone woke him up from his fucking holiday and told him, get your ass back in the ring. We need you. And I have some good news for you, because I do think that this is all being set up for a strong LA Knight return. There's no way that you have LA Knight lose so drastically and not have him come back strong. He is the perfect picture of a superstar that can go away. He can lose this bad, go away for a couple months, come back once Shinsuke has built this reputation and say, listen, I never lost anything and I'm fucking back for what's mine. And I think that's going to be a perfect storyline for LA Knight, because he's been undeniable for the past, what, maybe 2 years. And for the first fucking year, WWE didn't want to acknowledge him. We forced LA Knight down their throats and asked for more LA Knight, and that's the reason why he even has the fucking belt on him right now. So I do not think that this project that they saw, that they built up, I don't think it ends here. I think that this is just meant to put him up against someone that can credibly give him a better reputation within a feud than anybody else, because Shinsuke is so sought after, so looked at as such a great, amazing wrestler, that putting him in a feud with LA Knight just builds LA Knight stronger. Even if it is such an ass kicking at first, he'll come back, he'll win, and it'll make him even that more credible. So I think I enjoyed this match. Like you said, it was short. I would say I'd clock it like around 6 to 8 minutes, but
Bro, short as fuck.
it was a good, like I said, it was a good showing, because LA Knight was at such a high pedestal at that point. You know, everybody loved him. The chants were fucking loud as shit. They put the
Yeah.
belt on him. I think Shinsuke coming back as a villain and us knowing how good Shinsuke is was the perfect rivalry to put him in, so that we can make LA Knight look even bigger on the comeback. So I'm perfectly happy with this. Like you said, we both love Shinsuke. We loved Shinsuke since he was down in New Japan, even before he even came to NXT. This is going to be the guy that definitely pushes LA Knight to his breaking point, and it'll make him a better superstar for it. So I am totally down for this rivalry. Like I said, if LA Knight needs to go and take a break, if we don't see him for like a month or two and then he returns, I think that's perfect, because he is that kind of superstar that can come back and just claim what he never truly lost. You know, and like you said, who did he piss off in the
But
back? I
he
don't
did
think he.
lose.
I don't. Well, I understand, but like you, I'm trying to explain it. Like you said, who did he piss off in the back? I don't think he pissed off anything in the back. I think it's just part of like the storyline, you know? Like there was no
Yeah,
reason
for
to actually
sure.
take the belt away from him. But now that we have taken it from him, now he's gonna come back after a break and like, reclaim, his belt back. That's where my maybe my wording was off, but that's where my head
Yeah,
is.
nah,
I
I'm
I
just
feel
messing with you.
I feel like this is gonna be something really good for LA Knight at the end of the day, though.
I hope so. I don't think so though. I hope so. I just don't think so. And it's not because I don't think he can make a comeback from it. I think he can. It was just the way in which he took this L that it just like it just squashed my United States champion. I didn't really appreciate the ass whooping that he took. Maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion. Maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion. But just like watching it, if I'm a kid, if I'm an LA fan and I'm watching him lose the way that he did and come back the next Friday night, demand his rematch, get jumped by the bloodline, get disregarded. I'm just worried about where he's going, where he's headed. Um and I would love to see him get a rematch. And then but then I'm nervous. Because if he gets his rematch, loses again, that just sends us to the bottom of the card. I can't have that. Can't have that. You can't do that to him, and I won't stand for it. And if he wins it, it's like dope. He won the shit back. You gotta get your leg back. But I'm always gonna remember the ass whooping that you took to Nakamura. But overall, the thoughts on the reign, thoughts on the title reign as a whole. Now we know that the title reign ended. It
Okay.
started at SummerSlam. It started at SummerSlam against Logan Paul. In between, he's defended it. I think he like fucking tripled or quadrupled the defenses that Logan Paul had. He faced fucking Santos Escobar like 3 times. Who else did he fucking face throughout
Andrade.
this? He faced Andrade. He faced Carmelo Hayes. He faced them in a triple threat. Like solid title reign, bro. This also thank you for bringing this shit up. This is what also fucking pissed me off. Like, I get it. You bring Shinsuke back, man, and he comes back, he wins the chip. He fuck it, I get it. But if we were gonna have LA Knight lose the champ, if the plan was for him to lose, then why not fucking give it to Andrade or Carmelo Hayes? The two mid carders, the guys for the last fucking 2 months who've been busting their ass, putting on fan six because the seventh wasn't a fucking real match. 6 fantastic matches between each other. No bullshit. Straight wrestling. Straight wrestling. These motherfuckers were on Friday Night SmackDown just wrestling their asses off for 2 months. Fucking months. We were tuning in. Did you not? We were tuning in for 2 whole months to rewatch the same two guys go at it. Pause. Fucking wrestling every Friday night because they're so great, they're so athletic, they know what the fuck they're doing, and it was fun to watch. We haven't seen a feud like that like the early 2000s when like Ray and Eddie would face each other every fucking other Friday night, or you would see Kurt Angle versus Eddie or whatever the fuck, right? Those were matches that we would get consistently. In this, we finally get something like that in Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. Great fucking matches, and neither of them win the United States Championship. They were both aiming for it. They've both been on the show. Shinsuke comes back after a 7 month hiatus. Not saying he doesn't deserve it, but like, what the fuck? You didn't want to pick Carmelo Hayes or Andrade? Like, what was that about? What the fuck was that about?
Again, I think it's the weight that the name Shinsuke carries. I feel like I said, he's a perfect person to come in and tear him down and build him back up even bigger and stronger. I don't think it was not wanting to give it to Carmelo Andrade. I just think that they probably saw what they both can do. They saw the storyline that they carried out, and they said, you know what, we're gonna go with Shinsuke as the person that comes and he kicks his ass, and and he'll have to rebuild from that. I feel like that's where we're at.
I I'm gonna have to. I guess I'm just gonna have to guess because I don't know. I would have given it. I don't have a problem with LA Knight losing. I think it was the way in which he lost that bothered me. It was also who he lost to that bothered me, and how quickly in the feud lost to Shinsuke as well. Like Shinsuke came back for 2 weeks, fucking spat on him with the miss twice, interfered in his matches. He got the fucking title match and just took it from my boy. I just watched him get his chain snatched on live television, and I'm hurt and I'm disappointed, and we're gonna move forward. We're gonna move forward, LA Knight. I hope come back stronger, is Jess is saying. I really do. I really fucking do. But you got your chain snatched on live television, and I'm just disappointed. Speaking of mid card champ, the following championship match in this Survivor Series pay per view was Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser versus Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship. Braun Breaker, man, anytime that brother gets in the ring, motherfucker can wrestle and he's just fun to watch. And I have yet to see a bad match be put on by Braun Breaker. Since he's been spearing Sammy, now he's spearing Ludwig, and we're gonna continue to see him spear other motherfuckers. But Braun Breaker, that brother, put a fucking rocket on him and take him to the moon, because he is going to be a WrestleMania main event soon enough. Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser, two other individuals who, Sheamus especially, since he's returned, I remember, let's not forget, when Sheamus came back from his injury a few months ago, motherfuckers were calling my boy fat. They was making fun of him because he came back a little chubby and shit. And he came back and locked in for like 2 weeks, lost a little, little extra he had on his stomach. And ever since, he's been cooking, bro. He took that shit as major disrespect. Because motherfuckers on Twitter were clowning the shit on him when he returned Monday Night Raw. I remember this shit.
Well, it was
Remember
because
this
of Drew
shit.
McIntyre.
It was because of Drew. You're right. Drew was the one
Drew was
that
the little
poked his
shithole.
stomach. He was the one that poked his stomach, was telling him he had burger after burger after burger.
Yeah,
Oh, you're right. You're
I
right.
was trying to
Oh
remember
man,
what it was. It's burger after burger after burger.
that's it was. And I guess that just fucking led to an avalanche of Sheamus just getting shat on over the course of like 2 weeks. But all in all, ever since that, Sheamus locked in. He's been back, prime Sheamus, like a young Sheamus, whipping anyone and everyone's ass. He's been in a few matches with like Pete Dunne, his own matches against Ludwig Kaiser, and he's been putting on great matches on Monday Night Raw. He's getting rewarded with a triple threat match here, and so is Ludwig Kaiser, man. Ever since he turned on Giovanni Vinci, he's stepped out of the shadow of Imperium, in my opinion, and he stepped out of the shadow of Gunther as well. I love them two together. When we saw him introduce Gunther at Bash in Berlin, I was so happy. I was so happy because he has a great signature entrance for Gunther. But to see him step out of his shadow, man, and all three of these guys put on a hell of a fucking match. If you haven't watched it, haven't gotten an opportunity to watch it, I recommend you do. Whatever Braun Breaker match is on television, just turn it on, enjoy it. He's gonna put on a great show of athleticism. And you're just gonna have fun watching him. It's like, just being a kid again watching Braun Breaker wrestle. But just a great overall match. Of course, Braun Breaker continues his championship run. Following this match, he did win. Um, and I believe, if I am not mistaken, he hits a spear on both Sheamus and Kaiser to win this match here after pinning Sheamus. But he, of course, walks away as still the Intercontinental Champion. Uh, Thought the match was fantastic. Love Braun. How are you feeling about Braun's title reign so far? And this was actually an opportunity for Sheamus to become a Grand Slam champion. For those of you who don't know, a Grand Slam champion is someone who has conquered every championship in the WWE. So that would include the World Heavyweight, the WWE Undisputed, the United States, the Intercontinental Championship, and the Tag Championships. So the only championship that is missing from Sheamus's resume is the Intercontinental. This would have made him a Grand Slam champion. Do you think Sheamus will ever reach that milestone? And if so, when do you think that'll happen?
All right, there's a lot to unpack. Let's do the Sheamus stuff first. Will Sheamus get there? Yes, 100%. Because when he returned, that was one thing that on the commentary table they kept reiterating. They kept trying to burn that shit into our brains. Like Sheamus can be a Grand Slam champion if he wins the IC belt. If he wins the IC belt, he'll be a Grand Slam champion. So I feel like those are the plans. I just feel like they're trying to find the perfect, I guess, place to do it. Which can lead me into Braun Breaker's run. I don't know if I'm ready to see it end just yet. I would like to see Sheamus become a Grand Slam champion, but Breaker right now is unstoppable. I feel like Breaker's one of the best assets that they've acquired in a long time. This kid is athletic as shit. He's strong as fuck. He has definitely stepped out of the shadow of his family, and I think he's killing it. I understood why we took the belt off of him before because we had that other storyline, but at the end of the day, I feel like it was unnecessary. We could have kept the belt on Breaker, and you could have done your other stuff, and Breaker's run could have been even more impressive. But I like that he's not letting that loss weigh him down. He's just getting back to business, and he's been handling it. This match in general, I didn't know how it was going to play out at the beginning because, like you mentioned, I was thinking of Sheamus when he returned. The out of shape Sheamus, the Sheamus that wasn't really ring ready yet. But over the past couple months, now that you brought it up, I remember that yeah, he has been fucking killing it. He's been getting in the ring with plenty of people that have put him um up to the task, and he's been overcoming. So, and I don't know if you remember, but before the injury, Sheamus was in amazing shape. He even had like this workout YouTube channel that he used to do. He used to take like other superstars on like workouts or hikes. So he was in amazing shape. I don't know how much that injury affected him and if that's why he gained the weight, but the boy seems to be coming back, and that's the shape he's going to need to be in if he wants to become that Grand Slam champion later down the road. I would hope that it wouldn't be against Breaker, but at the same time, I don't want Breaker to lose against anybody else right now. So we'll just have to wait and see how that pans out. I'm a huge
Okay.
fan of Ludwig. So seeing him in this match is great. I would have loved it if he won, to be honest. Like just in anything in general, because I do feel like he's been put through the ringer recently, and he's like just paying his dues until they finally give him that big break. And I feel like him being just put in this match, even if it was just to lose, just to be that third person, puts him in a great position for later on to be able to say like, hey, can I get a chance at something bigger now? And seeing everything he's done, all the people he's built in the past couple months, everything he's done for Gunther, I feel like that's all in favor for him to get something big. um Maybe in the next couple months, maybe in a year. Patience is a subtle mistress, and maybe he won't want to wait that long, but if he does, it can pay off huge for him. So overall, this match was great. These three guys are just going out there and fucking showing why they earned their keep. So I'm excited to see where Breaker goes from here. I'm excited to see when, if which I think he will. But if Sheamus wins that Grand Slam, and just seeing where Ludwig progresses, like you said, he has stepped out of the shadow of Imperium, out of the shadow of Gunther. So I don't think you really need them together as much as you did before. If he comes and he helps Gunther from time to time, I think that's fine. I think it's time for him to chase his own his title dreams.
1000%. And going back a few topics past, here, Ludwig Kaiser versus LA Knight for the United States champion in Berlin. We had that match. That was a good match.
Yeah, that was
LA
a
Knight,
great
LA
match.
Knight. That title reign was cooking. Title reign was
Mm-hmm.
fucking cooking. Um, but anyway, I digress. I do want to note in this match, there was a spot here with Kaiser.
Mm-hmm.
Towards the end of the match, where Sheamus had actually landed a bro kick on Braun Breaker, and it was probably the closest pinfall we got in this match. He landed the bro kick, he went for the immediate fucking pin. The ref was maybe 3/10 of a second away from tapping three on the mat. and Ludwig pulled the ref out of the ring. Because it was a triple threat match, it's no disqualification. So Kaiser pulled the ref, causing him not to be able to hit that 3 counts, and Sheamus didn't win. But it seemed like Sheamus, of course they're gonna sell it a little bit. It did seem like Sheamus was about 3/10 of a second away from becoming a Grand Slam champion. So, like you said, I definitely do agree with you. I think it's gonna happen. When it's gonna happen, if I was a betting man, I probably would say it's gonna happen at WrestleMania, just because no, Triple H and team like to have those big, huge celebratory moments. But who knows? Maybe with the international PLE tour that they're going on, maybe they head to Ireland. And Sheamus wins the shit there. That'd be fucking sick. But we know how WWE likes to screw people out of their home countries, as they've done with Drew McIntyre in years past. Um, we'll just have to wait and see. But what a match, Braun Breaker. I thought about this question while you were sharing your opinion. Do you do you forget that Braun Breaker did also lose his Intercontinental Championship? Is that something that has now slipped your mind?
No, that's what I said. I was talking about how we took off the belt off Braun Breaker, and I don't think that was in seeing the bigger scope now. I don't think that that was necessary. I think I brought that up. I don't think it was necessary for him to lose his belt. Um,
Okay.
we could have kept that on him and made this reign even bigger. And like I said, I like that, and not he's not letting that shit weigh him down. He's not letting that loss stop him. They gave him the chance. He grabbed the belt again, and he's just running with it like nothing else happened. So I do appreciate that he's not letting something like such a minuscule loss like that was just to help another storyline. He's not letting that shit get to him. He's just back to business.
I agree with you. And the reason I asked is because I forgot that fucking he had lost his belt.
Hmm.
Like, when I think of his title reign, I forget about that asterisk mark that's there. He did lose it to Jey Uso. And although, you probably share the same, you think what's going to happen to, or what happened to Braun, he lost his belt, earned it, he came back, he's gone on a better run since. If you think that's going to happen with LA Knight, I just don't see it, man. I just don't fucking see it. And um I'm just worried about that part of it. I think, keep the title away from Knight for a bit. It is what it is. He lost it. I just don't see him doing what Braun Breaker did, winning his title back and going on a better reign, at least not for the moment. At least not right now. But we'll have to wait and see. But I had just brought up the question because in all honesty, it was like it last my mind that Jey Uso was the Intercontinental Champion for 2 weeks.
It's because it was for nothing. It really was. It didn't even help the Bloodline storyline the way that we thought it was gonna help. It just didn't make sense to take the belt off a Breaker. I feel like we could have left it on there and still tell the same story.
I agree. I agree. I think I understand why they did it. The Bloodline had to go help or try to help Jay retain his belt. Got upset, etc., etc. Like, I get it. They cost him the belt. He's pissed. That makes him go team up with his cousins. Like, it's the easier route. It makes sense. But I agree. I don't think it was necessary. I think they could have told the same story without taking the belt off of Braun Breaker. Um, but luckily, Braun is a fucking beast, and he shrugged that shit off his shoulders, and now we're here. And now we have idiots like myself who just forgot that he lost the shit in the first place. Shout out to Braun Breaker. Speaking of one of my favorite champions, one of my other favorite champions, my boy Gunther. Now, I was a little nervous, man. I'm not gonna hold you. I was a little nervous heading into this match. And Priest, Gunther, because I remember SummerSlam. I was nervous about that too. And for whatever fucking reason, the WWE has a magnifying glass on Damian Priest. And I just personally don't get it. Don't get it. He's a fantastic in ring talent. Listen, in ring talent, fucking great, one of the best. The brother knows how to put on a match. Won't argue that with you. But just the gimmick, the persona, I just can't get jiggy with it. It's just not for me. But I understand that the WWE loves them some Damian Priest. For whatever that reason is, I don't get it, but they do. So heading in here, I was nervous because Gunther just lost against Cody in his most recent match. And this was going to be, the first match since he's lost that match. Damian Priest has been on his ass, telling him how he's not confident in himself anymore. Also said probably the corniest. This is why I don't like Priest, because leading up to this fucking match, there was a promo segment, Damian Priest and Gunther backstage, where Priest went up to Gunther, or sorry, Gunther attacked Damian Priest while he had his back, but Priest was still able to recover, get the advantage, ultimately drop his ass. Then he stood over Gunther, told him, "Listen, I know they call you, or you're the general in the ring, but out here in the streets, I'm the king." It was some shit. It was some, and that shit, bro, is literally like in a nutshell why I can't fuck with Damian Priest. That's the cornball to me. Just can't get jiggy with it. Wasn't fucking with it. Wasn't fucking with him getting in here thinking he was gonna be Gunther. And I was nervous, bro. I was like, nah, there's no way, but there's a world. But I hope I don't live in that world. Luckily enough, we do not live in that world. But this match, Damian Priest versus Gunther, I thought this was a better match than their summer. It started off super tentative on Gunther's side. Gunther was extremely nervous following his loss to Cody at Crown Jewel. I thought he was just, he didn't have that same confidence as he usually does from the get go. He's usually on top of it all. He's always on the attack, but he was playing a little bit of defense with Damian Priest, which made me nervous. They started the match very technical, trading a few different submission holds, which is always fun to watch. Gunther and Damian, like I'm telling you, Damian in ring, fucking great. And when you put Gunther in the ring with another great fucking talent, they're gonna put on a hell of a show. And that's exactly what they did. They were going back and forth, trading different submission holds until there was one point in the match where Gunther was still tentative, but Damian Priest had hurt his shoulder. I don't remember the exact move in which Damian Priest had hurt his shoulder, but they made it very apparent. They wanted us to clearly understand that Damian is injured and something is wrong. And from that moment moving forward, Gunther fucking dominated. He did what he always does. He finds one of your weaknesses and he exploits it. And he did that for the remainder of this match. He exploited the Damian Priest shoulder. He attacked it. He chopped it. He kicked it. He held different submission holds to weaken that arm. He was fucking locked in. It was prime Gunther. It was fucking. I'm watching him. I'm like, oh, he's back. There's no way he's fucking losing this match now. Got that confidence. He has that dog in his eye. I was excited. I said, yeah, beat that Puerto Rican's ass. Get him out of here. He was having a field day with Damian Priest for the most part. But of course, no, they're gonna give Damian Priest a couple of sign. They're gonna give him a couple moments of momentum. And Priest started to turn the table a little bit. He would try to get his finisher off on Gunther. He tried to get his power bomb, and I think the his Razor's Edge, his iteration of the Razor's Edge, but he couldn't find the strength. He didn't pick up Gunther, and it was just a fantastic story that they told in the ring. And there was a certain spot in the match where, again, he tried to pick up on Gunther on the injured shoulder, but Gunther put Damian Priest in a Kimura lock. And the Kimura lock looked disgusting, bro. I was watching this shit and I was like, yo, he's about to break his arm, about to fuck that shit up. And I was so hype. I'm like, yeah, get that Puerto Rican out of here, bro. We don't need him in any more championship matches. We're tired of this shit, bro. Take that goddamn eyeliner off. I was sick of it. Um, Anyways, he lets the Kimura lock go. We find Damian Priest is finds he rolls out of the ring and he lands on the mat. Gunther's in the middle of the mat, fucking tired, exhausted. Damian Priest is laid out on the floor outside of the ring. The camera pans out. We're thinking, these two motherfuckers are trying to kill themselves. They're catching their breath. But of course, always the case. Damian Priest is lying on the floor. The crowd starts to go wild. So you just know something's going to happen that the camera doesn't see yet. And guess what that is? Not what, but who. Finn fucking Balor has decided to show up again in the same match to cause a distraction. He coup de grace, double kick Damian Priest to the chest, sends him into the middle of the ring. Gunther sees what just happened. He's pissed because he's like, yo, I was whipping his ass. I didn't need any help. Now I got unnecessary, unwarranted help that no one called and asked for. He goes outside. He fucking boots the shit out of Finn Balor's head. Then he heads back into the ring. Gunther's now pissed because he's like, oh, now motherfuckers gonna say that I didn't beat him by myself. I couldn't do it. He power bombs Damian Priest and then he puts him in a sleeper hold again. And he wins the championship because Priest was done. But interference. Gunther wins with a sleeper hold following the power bomb. Overall thoughts on the World Heavyweight Championship match that we got at this year's Survivor Series, and how did you feel about Finn Balor playing a role in this?
I would have to say I agree with you. This match was definitely better than their last match. Why you hate Damian Priest? I don't know. I find it hilarious though. I don't think he's that bad. That line was definitely cornball shit. I don't know why the fuck he said that. We're way past having horrible promos, or at least saying horrible shit like that in promos. Whoever fed them that line, or if he made it up himself, you guys really need to rethink what you're gonna say when you're doing these promos. Overall, I feel like the match was good. I feel like honestly, I didn't have Gunther being so self-doubting of himself in my bingo card for the year, and I'm very interested to see where it goes from here just because we really haven't seen him in this position. He's always been on top, he's always been confident and in charge, and we're starting to see those little notes of him really doubting himself. And I think Finn Balor helping him at the end just kind of makes those thoughts seep deeper in his head because he's like, could I not have one without him? Like, well, you know. So it's interesting to see Gunther in this position is interesting. Um, I hope that he bounces back. I do. He's another one that I don't think I want to see the belt coming off of him anytime soon. I like Gunther. I think that he carries that belt well and he brings notoriety to it. So at the end of the day, in this match, the better man did win. I don't know if I need to keep seeing Gunther versus Priest past this. It kind of seems like we're gonna go towards Priest and Finn Balor, with the stuff that's happened recently. But yeah, I'm excited to see where Gunther goes from here. Who he faces? Is he still gonna be this nervous wreck, that he's been portraying these past couple months, or these past couple weeks? Who knows?
Yeah, I was disappointed that Finn Balor had to play another role in this. Like I get it for the storyline purposes, but then again, this just makes me feel the same way I felt about Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. Like we saw Finn Balor versus Damian Priest already. Got the whole Judgment Day debacle out of the way. Like we did, it's done, it's completed. Damian Priest is done. The reason why Finn Balor interfered here was because he didn't want Priest to win the championship again. Like again, he wants to win the championship. He feels like he should be where Damian Priest is at. He should have been the Money in the Bank winner. He should have been World Heavyweight Champion a long time ago. And it's Damian Priest's fault and the original Judgment Day's fault that he's not in that position. So Finn Balor has that jealousy, that envy in him, and he even said it in one of the most recent episodes of Monday Night Raw, where he told Dominic Mysterio that he was upset at him because he is the reason why Damian Priest had gotten another championship match. And he couldn't get the job done by beating him. And so Finn is just focused and Priest might need to put a restraining order on this guy because he's just locked in on making sure that Priest will never win the title again. And so I think we're not going to be done with that dude, of course, anytime soon. And coming up this Saturday night main event, we'll talk about that later this week. But we found out that it's no longer just going to be Gunther versus Finn Balor at for the World Heavyweight Championship at Saturday night's main event. Now it's a triple threat match. Now we got Gunther, Damian Priest again, and Finn Balor, and it should be a good match. I hope it's a good match. I hope it's a good match because I remember how excited I was and I was looking forward to the Finn Balor versus Priest match at Bad Blood. And that wasn't, what I thought it was gonna be. So this is an opportunity for them to mix in Gunther. Maybe Gunther will be the missing piece, and help them put on a fantastic match. But three best talents. Excited to see them during this triple threat match. This upcoming Saturday, they're gonna put on a great show. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe Gunther's has been the missing piece of that puzzle, and they're able to put on a better match than what they did at Bad Blood. So we'll just have to be patient, and we'll talk about that once that's over. But I was a little hesitant when they made the announcement to add Damian Priest. We'll talk about it later. But I was a little hesitant, but now looking at it in hindsight, I am excited. Damian Priest doesn't put out bad matches. I love his in-ring work. It's just the character, man, that I can't get behind. Um, but the in-ring talent is there. And so of course, we move on to the main event of the night. We move on to what has been the biggest story in pro wrestling, or what has been the past 4 years, the bloodline. We're finally at the bloodline versus the bloodline 2.0. What seemed, not so long ago when we had Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Jim Uso, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and Paul Heyman with the We the One shirts pointing their fingers at the sky, prime bloodline. That wasn't more than a year and a half ago. But yet it feels so far away. And the reason why it feels so far away is because all of the turmoil, all of the tension, the betrayals, everything that has happened over the course of the last, say, 18 months is just a whole lot of fucking drama. So much so that Roman Reigns lost his WWE Undisputed Universal title after a 1,300-day reign, causing him to, dethrone himself almost as the tribal chief. And who was there to pick up the Ulafala? Solo Sikoa, the man that Roman Reigns told everyone. Roman Reigns declared Solo Sikoa as the tribal heir. He did that. No one told him to do that. Roman did that. Declared Solo as the tribal heir. People forget. Since that time, Solo did snag that Ulafala, and he claimed what was rightfully his. I do say rightfully, and I think I'm justified in saying rightfully. He claimed the throne of the tribal chief, and we got the second half, the second part of the bloodline story with Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, Solo Sikoa. And now we're here. Now we have that bloodline versus this bloodline. But we couldn't make it 4v4. No. WWE had to throw in some extra. We get Bronson Reed with Solo Sikoa, and we get CM Punk with the bloodline, with the OG bloodline. I need to ask, when you found out, when you saw Paul Heyman return with CM Punk, how did you feel about him teaming up with the original bloodline?
It was a little confusing. I gotta say that I was one person that completely just forgot about CM Punk and the connection with Paul. Not because they aren't great together, just because like that connection hasn't been there for a hot minute. So when he introduced Punk as a fifth, I honestly was still under the assumption that maybe we, you know, with the chance of God, we might get Brock Lesnar back. But seeing CM Punk didn't make me mad. I was like, I understand that, and they're clearly building a storyline past this match, between CM Punk and the Bloodline, and Paul Heyman. So I'm very interested in seeing that move forward. But it was definitely a shock to me. I wasn't expecting CM Punk to be the one to come out.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting CM Punk either, but I wasn't confident it was gonna be Brock Lesnar. It made sense that it's CM Punk for me. I can see it. Paul Heyman, that's his boy. One of his original, that he is a Paul Heyman guy, the original Paul Heyman guy. So it makes sense. And like you mentioned, there's gonna be a story there. Roman Punk. We're gonna get that match.
Hmm.
Somehow, some way, we're going to get the match. But anyways, CM Punk was the fifth team member here. So that is this year's events and war game. Now, heading into the match, I was very, very, very surprised at the entrance because if you noticed, I believe the order of the entrances was Jimmy Uso, Sami Zayn, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and then Jey Uso. It makes sense because Jey was the first one past. The bloodline has entered together. And now seeing Jey Uso as his own superstar, getting the entrance after Roman's, like, when is the last time you've seen anyone come in after Roman that you can remember?
Uh, Other than another champion, probably no one. Even with Cody,
My
did
point
Cody come out
exact.
first? I can't remember.
No, well, no, because they've never, Roman's never gotten his rematch.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I
so,
mean,
but
oh
no,
yeah, yeah, I guess
no.
so. Yeah, yeah.
And so seeing Jey Uso get the fucking nod, because yes, it makes sense. Jey was starting the match, but there's a world where you don't come out after Roman Reigns. Like it's the bloodline. So you come out together, or you just don't fucking come out at all. But I guess Roman was like, no, he got his entrance. Everyone's eating. The crowd went nuts. I was just genuinely fucking surprised. Jey Uso has that much motion. He has that much motion, and they got a star. They got a star in Jay. And I have this whole theory about Jay. I'm gonna get to it later, but man, crazy entrance. Tama Tonga was the first opponent on the other side. So Jey Uso, Tama Tonga start this match here. They're the ones that kicked everything off overall in the War Games match. Um, this match to me was very fun. I think the stars of this match were Jacob Fatu and Jimmy Uso, surprisingly. Jimmy Uso, we've talked about him over the course of the podcast where he hasn't had the greatest of matches over the last year. You know, he had his match against his brother at WrestleMania 40, and that was a little bit disappointing. And he's never been a singles competitor. You know, him and his brother have always worked together, the best together as a tag team. But this motherfucker was pulling out crazy shit during this match. He put out a corkscrew moonsault when he started. He jumped off the top rope onto Bronson Reed and Tama Tonga. When's the last time you seen Jimmy Uso hit a corkscrew moonsault? I didn't even know he knew what that was. I didn't even know I knew what that was. He hit that shit in like the first 2 minutes of the match. I was like, oh shit, he's gonna cook today. He came prepared. All the shit, everything online now saying, oh, Jay is the better brother. Jay had the better solo reign. Jay was the continental champion. He saw that shit and he said, bet. I'm not gonna let my brother have all the fun. And he decided to lock in. Um, and it was just great to see. It made me happy for Jimmy. It made me happy for Jimmy because the crowd really did appreciate it, I thought. The Canadian crowd did. And he showed out for them. Jacob, on the other hand, anytime he gets in the fucking ring, man, he's gonna put on a show. He's gonna put on a show. he's gonna be the best of any and everybody in that ring. Like, I cannot wait for the day that we get Braun Breaker and Jacob Fatu in the middle of the ring, and it's gonna suck because one of them has to lose, but it's gonna be great. Um, and Jacob Fatu was just whipping everyone's ass throughout this match. He was fucking up the Usos, both Jimmy and Jay. This whole match, it was really a Bloodline 2.0 absolutely destroying the original Bloodline. They had the advantage to head in because Jey Uso had lost a match against Jacob Fatu the previous Friday nights. But to kick things off, it was just an ass whooping. Would you disagree or agree that the majority of this match was more the new Bloodline favorite versus the original Bloodline?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you kind of had to, right? Because I mentioned it before. I've mentioned it before. Solo and his team are constantly in TV. They have to be these menaces, and with some of the losses that they've taken recently, I feel like they needed to show out. So I feel like to have them knowing that they were going to lose later on in the match, they needed to come out and just start heavy. I feel like they did a perfect job doing that.
1,000%, 1,000%. And they continued the momentum throughout the majority of this match up until I think it was CM Punk. CM Punk was the second to last match to enter this ring, to enter the match on the Bloodline side. And the reason why was because we saw Roman and Punk being locked up in the cage together. They clearly didn't want to be next to each other. They aren't the best of friends, and they were going back and forth so much so that there were certain points throughout the night where opponents would head out of their respective cages to enter the match. Roman would stop Punk and not let him head to the ring. And when it was time for Roman to head to the ring as the fourth contestant on his side, Punk bumped his ass and ran ran in front of him, and the ref closed the cage. And so Roman was pissed. Punk entered the ring. Before he entered the ring, he went under um the ring to look for a weapon, and of course he found the toolbox that he used to ultimately beat Drew McIntyre's ass at Bad Blood. And he took it into the ring and he started whipping everyone's ass. Started fucking up um, Jacob Fatu with it. And I think there was this spot that I really did love with Jacob Fatu. I do love it when he just gets like fucking mauled by an opponent and it doesn't matter. He just gets back up, gets up, he emotes while the opponent has his back to them, and then he hits the fucking Samoan drop. And that's what he did to CM Punk. Punk hit him with like the toolbox on the top of his head. Fatu fell back. It didn't matter. He jumped up while Punk celebrated. As soon as Punk turned around, hit him with the Samoan drop. You gotta know and recognize you don't hit a Samoan in his head and expect them to stay down. It never fucking works. Um, and so I thought that was hilarious. And Solo was then the final one to enter the match on the Bloodline 2.0 side. He enters, he locks the cage. He locks the cage because he knows the next person to come into this ring will be Roman Reigns, and that's when the official match begins. Roman heads out of his cage. Solo's laughing because this motherfucker locked the cage. Has to climb up. He can't enter through the steel door. Now he has to climb up the fucking cage. Tama Tonga and Tonga Lower also climb up to meet him up top, but he, of course, goes super Roman, beats their ass. They fall off the top of the cage. Roman heads to the top of the turnbuckle. Brother, he hit a cross body from the top of the turnbuckle on Solo and Jacob Fatu. And it took me back to 2012 when when Roman Reigns had the Shield vest. When is the last time we have ever seen Roman Reigns head to the top of the turnbuckle? Can you remember the last time you've seen that happen?
Nah, it's
It
been a
was
minute.
so fucking hilarious. It's been more than a minute. It's been years, ages. Some would say decades. It's been a couple fucking years. But man, watching that shit happen was hilarious. Roman was finally in the middle of the ring. The match. kicks off. Roman was able to fucking fight off everybody. They got this man built up like super. He was able to beat everyone's ass, so much to the point that he then was able to pick up all the bloodline members. They got up. Now it's five of the bloodline on one side of the ring, five of the new bloodline on the other. We get the spot where they meet in the middle and they start to beat each other's ass. But it got to a point where Bronson Reed, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and I think it was Solo Sikoa were on one side of the ring. They had set up a table. They placed Roman on top of that table. Bronson climbed up to the top of the cage. Mind you, for anyone who doesn't know what Bronson Reed looks like, this motherfucker is like 6 feet, 400 pounds of just fucking, of just man. And he climbs up to the top. I don't know how he even climbed up there. Honestly, climbs up there. He's gonna go for the tsunami. The tsunami, the move that put Seth Rollins in the hospital, sent him past for fucking 2 months, and he did it from the top of the turnbuckle that time. Now he's 15 feet up in the air, getting ready to hit a tsunami on Roman Reigns, our tribal chief. He jumps up, goes for the finisher, and by the grace of God, he pulls Roman off of the table, saves his life, because if Bronson Reed would have connected, it would have been over. It would have been over. And on the other side of this fucking ring, Jimmy and Jey Uso hit the move that we've been waiting for them to hit since WrestleMania. I think it was 39 the last time I seen them hit the 1D. After a year and some change. No, I'm lying. I'm lying. They hit that shit on Roman Reigns at following that Money in the Bank. So it's been about a year. Um, since they've teamed up and hit their finish. They hit their finisher on Jacob Fatu, and the pieces started to fall together. All of the Bloodline 2.0 is now down on the floor. Bronson Reed just fucking committed an injury to himself jumping that high off the fucking off the cage. And now we have the Bloodline standing up, the original Bloodline standing up in the middle of the ring, and Solo Sikoa all alone while his teammates are knocked out. And now it's Solo and Roman staring at each other. Solo looks distraught. Roman and him have an exchange of words. Interestingly enough, I don't know if you noticed it, but Roman actually extended his arms like he was going to give Solo a hug, as if he was welcoming him back into his bloodline, almost trying to forgive him. But Solo, of course, being the defiant tribal chief that he is, he emotes, sticks his thumb out, and goes for his finisher. But he is stopped. Sami Zayn hits his fucking haluva kick. Jey Uso hits a super kick. Jimmy Uso hits a super kick. And Punk hits the go to sleep. And Roman Reigns finishes him off with a spear. And he takes the pin, and the original Bloodline win this match. They win War Games, and they go home and they celebrate. Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, and Roman Reigns were the victors. What were your overall thoughts on the entirety of this match? Did you enjoy it? You clearly, you said that you thought the women's match was better. I would disagree, but just your thoughts and how you felt about the way this whole story panned out.
This was one small victory in a very big war for these boys, but I think it was time for these boys to win. Because we did put them through a little bit of a slump, which I definitely think that Roman Reigns needed returning after his loss from Cody Rhodes, especially with the storyline that we're telling. And I feel like that storyline still has a lot to be told. Um, but on this night, the good guys won, and I'm totally okay with it. There was a couple big spots in this match, like you said, the Bronson Reed going all the way to the cage. I did not see that coming at all, nor would I have bet on that happening at all. I didn't think someone his size would even be brave enough to go up there, but he completely proved me wrong, and he took that bump like a champ. Not only that bump, but Jimmy jumping from the top like that, fucking crazy, dude. Like you said, I think a fire was lit under his ass. I don't know if it was necessarily all the hype up on his brother. I think he was excited. He was out for so long. He was just excited to get back in, and he was saving all the good stuff for Survivor Series because he knew that that would be the night to do it. And he showed out. Everyone showed out here. I feel like Roman, like you said, he looked good. He looked like the Roman of old. CM Punk is a little older now, but he can still move in the ring, and he proved that he can keep up with the big boys. Bronson still, dude, he's amazing. He's another breaker. He's this anomaly that we've gotten that you would look at him and you would completely judge him instantly on like, oh, he wrestles like this, but time again he just proves us wrong. He proves to be this versatile wrestler, almost as like a Big E, who like even with this size was able to do these crazy things. So I'll be paying attention closely to his career. Um, Jacob Fatu, like you said, every time he's just you put him in there, he's gonna fucking kill it. This juggernaut gimmick he has, where he'll get hit and he'll just bounce back like nothing happened. I also love that. I feel like there was a point in time where if you no sold something, it was a little bit of a people looked at you wrong. For those who don't know, no selling is just basically when you take a big move and you get back up from it like nothing happened. Um, Jacob's great at doing that, and it doesn't even piss me off because the way that he does it is just so menacingly and builds his character up so much that it works for him. It's great. This match did take out two people. I think you have notes on that. Took out two people. One of them being Bronson Reed, which scares me a little bit going forward. I hope it's not something that'll take him off for too long. And the other one being Tongaloa, which to be honest, he could use a break. He needs to regroup and he needs to find that God Tongaloa that he left in New Japan and bring it over because brother, it is not working. But I'm glad that everyone, for the most part, came out safe from this match. Like I said, we did have two injuries, but I'll take two injuries over some bigger injuries on some of the bigger superstars that have really mainline storylines going on right now. But overall, yeah, I would say that I enjoyed the female one just a little bit better. I feel like they kept up the pace a little bit more. With the boys, it was a little bit more storytelling, so it did, to me at least, slow down in a couple spots. But overall, I can't say that the boys disappointed me. They all went out there, they all fucking killed it. Even Solo, the whole moment at the end, him taking everybody's super moves, finishing moves, it it just built him up because he didn't, like you said, Roman kind of extended that come back to us, and he did not put his guard down. He just went straight for it. He was like, nah, fuck it, I'm going down with the ship. And I could respect that. Like I said, Solo in the past couple months has
100%.
definitely fucking improved, and he has made me a fan. Someone who wasn't completely a fan when I started watching again. He has completely made me a fan. I think he's funny. I think he's been killing in the ring. Whoever he's working with, keep working with him because you got a star on your hands if you keep going this way.
100%. I would like to apologize for the disrespect. Jim Uso, I did not mention the frog splash off of the top of the cage that he also did. I think that was on Jacob Fatu. Jacob was on the table. Jimmy hit the frog splash. So after Bronson Reed hit his tsunami or missed his tsunami, Jimmy Uso was able to connect his move on Jacob Fatu. That was also a crazy fucking spot. As you mentioned, we did suffer a couple injuries throughout this match. Bronson Reed, unfortunately, I think he broke his right ankle on the landing of that tsunami from the top of the cage. I think the reports are saying that he's going to be out until post WrestleMania. So it's very unfortunate. Hopefully, he can come back before then because he was on pace, man, to make that card with the year that he's been having. So it just sucks that hopefully his year doesn't end that way. But if it does, very unfortunate. And I hope the fans, I'm sure they won't forget what he has done up until this point this year. He made a fucking name for himself and he's been fantastic. And he fit in perfectly into Solo's bloodline as well. You couldn't even tell it was there was like a non-family member in that group there. He fit the mold perfectly, and he's fucking great. So, hopefully, thoughts and recovery wishes out to Bronson Reed. You mentioned Tongaloa. I believe his injury was a shoulder injury, not as serious as a broken ankle. He's out for indefinitely. They didn't pronounce or announce any um, time period for his return. And one more injury as well. Jimmy Uso broke his toe on the landing from his own frog splash from the top of the cage. So a few injuries here. Jimmy's also out indefinitely. We hope that everyone recovers and returns and is able to return healthy once they are ready to do so. But overall, how many fingers in the sky would you give this year's Bloodline 2.0 versus the OG Bloodline War Game match?
I think I'm gonna stick to the four. I found this very enjoyable. Like I said, the boys went out there, they showed out, they pushed this storyline forward, and we have a lot to look forward to. The Pebble, as you like to call him, hasn't even fucking returned. So
Yeah,
I'm anticipating that return to keep pushing the storyline. I feel like they're kind of trying to draw it out so that we can get a few more pay-per-views in, maybe even push this to like Rumble or Mania next year. Where you have, OG Bloodline versus 2.0. Um if we're waiting on the Cody stuff, I feel like I'm fine with that because Cody has his own kind of stuff going on right now. Um and I like that Roman's kind of making his way to being the top dog without the belt again. I feel like it just shows that people care about his storyline and everybody involved in it. I feel like everybody involved in it's gonna come out on top, win or lose. Whichever side you're on, this is definitely gonna be a great stepping stone for everybody's career.
100%. All in all, I would probably give this match out of 3.7 and a half fingers up in the sky.
Okay.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm always a big fan of the Bloodline matches, not because of the actual in ring material, but just the story, the dramatization of it all. It's like watching cinema. So excited to see what is to come. But you bringing up The Rock, the Pebble, were you surprised that he didn't make an appearance at the end of this pay per view?
Yeah, 100% because I feel like that was the report that everyone was kind of trying to push. Everyone was talking about how he had fulfilled his filming obligations and all this, but he didn't show up, and it shocked me. I thought that this was going to be the start of his brief appearances leading up to potentially Raw on Netflix, but nothing. We got nothing. They just stood there. They won, which is good. It's fine. It doesn't always have to end on a surprise, but in this one that I thought that we should have deserved a surprise, we got nothing. We got kind of empty-handed.
Yeah, we did leave overall the entire show with really no surprises. Correct me if I'm wrong. There wasn't any surprise returns. No one coming back from injury. Nothing and nothing really extravagant besides Shinsuke winning the title. Nothing really changed. And I was very surprised personally because Survivor Series is one of the big four pay-per-views, alongside Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam. It's one of the statements that WWE loves to make every quarter. Um, so just I was personally surprised last year's Survivor Series. We saw the return of R-Truth. We saw the return of Randy Orton. We also saw the return of CM Punk. That all happened on the same fucking night. We remember how insane that night was when looking back at it. Maybe we're spoiled. Maybe we've been spoiled over the course of the last year and a half since the merger has happened. Things have kicked off. Maybe we're just being brats. I'm not disappointed in the show, but I was just surprised that we didn't get any surprises. But you know, with that being said, I do think that just means they're saving some things for what is to come. We know we have Netflix on Raw coming up. We know we have Saturday night's main event this weekend coming up, and another Saturday night main event in January before the Rumble. So there's still a lot to go, and I think they're gonna be a little bit more patient than they were last year, and we're gonna slowly and surely start to, unveil some surprises for us fans. But all in all, really did enjoy Survivor Series, and I am looking forward to how everything plays out in the weeks to come.
Do
With
you?
that
Oh,
being said, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask. Do you know what our next pay per view is besides Saturday night main event?
The Royal Rumble.
The Royal Rumble. Okay, I was just making sure there wasn't anything else because there are a couple since I've returned. There's been a couple of new pay per views. I'm like, when did that come back? But I just want to make sure there wasn't anything in between that.
And no, it's just the Royal Rumble. And to add to the Royal Rumble, there was a very interesting um fan theory that I saw regarding The Rock. Someone online said, "What if The Rock, returns at the Rumble, but he comes in at number 31 because he used his executive power, uh, his board director role to enforce an extra entrant in the match. And he decided that this year is the first year, the only year that there's going to be 31 opponents, and he's the last one. If that were to happen, I think, dude, like with the way the whole final boss gimmick has been going, that would be such a great and perfect way to write him back into television. That would be so sick, in my opinion. Like, whatever, whoever that fan is, whoever wrote that idea, came up with that theory. If they steal that shit, bro, you're gonna have to find a lawyer because that shit would be sick. What are your thoughts on that potentially happen, if anything?
I think it would be funny. I think it would be cool if he did that, but we also have to be very careful and only, I guess, present that as like a one time thing because if you start allowing the fans, I guess, to accept the notion that he can just change it because he has some kind of power, I feel like knowing The Rock, he's just gonna start abusing that, and that's what I don't want. But if it's like a one time thing, and then they tell him like, "Hey, you can't ever fucking do that. That was again, that was against the rules." I feel like that'll be fine. The one off, just the once in a lifetime, I think that'll be fine. If you do that, I think it'll be funny. Have him win, and then that maybe sets something up. I don't know, but I say if they steal that theory and they go for it, I wouldn't be mad at it.
Wouldn't be mad at all. I think it'd be so fun. And if I'm that fucking fan, I'll lawyer up. I'll lawyer up, buddy, because that shit was great. Um, and then also wanted to bring this up. Uh, John Cena has been announced for January 6th, Monday Night Raw. You're a Cena fan
Mm-hmm.
and you're watching and you're going to the event. What do you want to see him either say, or who is the first opponent and feud you throw him into to start the new year?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Because it's a retirement tour. Like we said before, we don't necessarily need to see John Cena win every match, but we also don't need to see him just come back and put over a bunch of guys. But I feel like if you're gonna do something at Monday Night Raw, then maybe you do kind of have him put someone over. Um, Not to start the tour off bad, but you just make it this complete showcase of athleticism between someone up and coming against a veteran like John Cena. And then, at the end of the match, John Cena holds up the other person's arm. I feel like that'd be a great way to kick off the tour. And it's a great way to put someone over. And and honestly, mm, it's tough. It's tough. I don't want to see John Cena lose on the first one, but I just feel like that would be right. I feel like putting a younger person over on the first night would be the way to go, and then have him win a couple. And I would say even the last one. I don't know if he needs to win the last one, but even the last one, maybe don't win. Maybe put someone over,
You
leaving.
gotta win. No,
You gotta win. All right, all
no,
right.
you
Well, he's
gotta
gotta
win,
win.
bro.
Okay.
You
Well, I
gotta
don't. I
win.
don't think he needs to win the first one. Then let's put it like that. I don't think he needs to win the first
Okay.
one. Um,
Nah, but that
but
last one you gotta win, brother.
but I feel like yeah, like him putting someone over and just having that John Cena moment of like, hey, like put his hand up. This is the future. I feel like that's something that John needs to do.
100%. I have my own theory. Listen, so we know it's going to be taking place in Los Angeles at the new Intuit Dome.
Hmm.
San Diego is a few miles down the freeway from LA. Who is from San Diego? That boy Dominic Mysterio. We
Ooh.
get Cena come out, right? Everyone's losing their mind. Everyone loves Cena. It's his first day back, and the crowd is going nuts. And I'm smiling just thinking about it. And then Dominic Mysterio's music hits because he is never afraid to be outspoken. He's one of the biggest assholes in on the roster, and he's a great fucking heel. Like not so long ago, it was the point where the fans would boo him and not even allow him to speak. You literally couldn't hear him on because of how loud he was getting booed. Imagine the fucking boos that Dominic Mysterio would get. Um, if he came out and interrupted John Cena on his first night back, it'd be great. And he would be the perfect heel for it because he can lose a match and have it not affect him. Because I'm going to be on the opposing side here. Cena's going to win. If Cena wins any matches in this return, it's going to be two. And it's going to be his first match and it's going to be his last. And I think having him beat Dominic Mysterio in his first match is the perfect soft start to his farewell tour. It gives the nod and the appreciation to what Dominic has been able to do over the course of the last year or so. He's been on fire as a fucking heel. He's his merch sales have been insane. He was in one of the main pivotal stories of all of WWE with the Judgment Day and Rhea Ripley, and he continues to be a focal point. Getting that John Cena rub there, Cena versus Mysterio, Raw on Netflix, book it, book it. I just cooked, book it. And I think that's how I would write that. I think that would be fun. How do you feel about that? If that were the case, would you change anything there? Would you want to see Dominic versus Cena? And if you do want to see, did you want to see Dom go over?
I actually do like your theory. I like your theory because the only other way I was wanting to see Cena on the first night back would probably be in a John Cena Open Challenge because he's always been famous for those, and I feel like starting off the tour like that would also be another great way of him just coming out and saying, for the last time, if you want some, come get some. But maybe even just saying that and then having Dom fucking come out, I think that's perfect. Like you said, he's a heel that win or lose, he's still gonna be on top, and he's had a killer fucking year. And why not start off the new year with a match with Cena, that just sets him up for the rest of the year. So I like your theory. I like that a lot because, like I said, my only other way for him to come out would have been an open challenge, and if that open challenge doesn't happen, and if it's just an interruption by Dom, I'm okay with that because, like you said, it just makes good for TV.
I cannot fucking wait. Luckily, I have been blessed with the opportunity to attend this year's the official first episode of Monday Night Raw on Netflix, January 6th, 2025. Got my tickets, going with one of my closest friends out here in Los Angeles. I can't wait to share that experience with him. Can't wait to see our greatest of our time, John Cena. It just warms my heart. I'm smiling just thinking about it. That's my personal Christmas gift to myself. I can't fucking wait. If there are three WWE events that I need to go to for the rest of my life, and I would be completely okay if I never go to another single one following those three, it would be Cena's first night back for his farewell tour, his last WrestleMania match, and his final ever match in the WWE ring. If you had to be at any of Cena's last moments in matches, which ones would those be?
Well, I want to go to the Monday Night Raw because, like you said, it'd be cool just to see him on his first night. And me and my girl have been talking. There's a small chance that we might be there, so we'll see when that comes through. But another one, I would love to be at WrestleMania for it, but at the same time, I don't know if I could take that, bro. I mean, like he said, he's the goat of our generation. He's probably one of the greatest superstars that we've created in WWE that's never left, that's always just been there. So all that emotion of seeing him wrestle his last WrestleMania, I don't know if I could do that. I know that sounds dumb, but as a wrestling fan for such a long time, it's rough seeing some of your heroes retire. You know, I still remember just watching on TV multiple wrestlers retire, and it's rough. I remember the first night that we thought the Undertaker was gone. That there was not a dry eye in sight. So I would love to see him at WrestleMania. I don't know if I would be able to emotionally take that. His last match would also be a sick one, but again, another emotional one because it's the last time you're going to see him in that ring. You know. But yeah, I'm with you. I think any of those would be great. But overall, I think the more emotional one would be WrestleMania. I think that's the place to be at for this retirement tour.
Yeah, I hear you on the emotional side, man. I'm glazing hard right now. Crazy dick riding, I must say. But big John Cena fan, that's my GOAT. I share the sentiment with you. I think it's gonna be a very emotional couple of months for me as a Cena fan. There will be moments where tears will be shed. But I cannot wait for the journey to start. I cannot wait to see how it ends. I hope and I pray that I get to live and see this entire farewell tour out. Wait to see him live and just enjoy the moments with the fans. The reason why we love wrestling is because of the connection we have with other fans and being in those arenas, man. For moments like that, it's just the fucking best because people, they get it. We fucking get it. It's just, the emotion of it all. Just feeling the warmth that the storylines bring us, just, living our own lives through vicariously through those storylines. And seeing one of the greatest of all times retire, it's gonna suck. Gonna suck. But such is life. Such is life. But I cannot wait for that to come. It's gonna be a great 2025. With that being said, I think that puts the bow on this episode of the Word Around the Ring podcast. Thank you all for listening. Reiterating, hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. This week we'll be putting out a second episode as well, so be on the lookout for that. But we hope you enjoyed this year's Survivor Series recap. King Jess, any last words?
I just want to thank everyone that stuck with us. You know, I know that we took an extended break. Me and Rob both got to go on vacation recently, so that's why we were away for a bit. We will talk about that more on the next episode. We have a couple photos. Me and Rob actually got to meet up for the first time since starting the podcast, and I'm excited to talk about that and show you guys some photos. But overall, thank you for listening. Remember, it doesn't hurt to like and subscribe. It helps us a lot to know if you guys are still rocking with us. We have a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline. Um, I have a couple solo shows that I have recorded that I'm going to be putting up soon. It's a new show that I have called King's Court, where I kind of just go over topics that I feel like I want to break down a little bit more that we didn't get to during the week, or just in general topics that I listen to that we don't cover on the podcast. They're going to be shorter shows. They'll be either 5 to 10 minutes long, something digestible that you can have on your morning commute. But other than that, like Rob said, we have another episode coming this week because we want to give you guys up some catch up content. We have a pay per view this weekend, so we will be doing a prediction show for that. Other than that, just enjoy yourselves. It's the holiday. It's one of the best seasons to be happy right now. Just enjoy your loved ones, hug them, tell them you love them, and just enjoy this holiday season. You never know when it could be, your last. So just be happy with your loved ones this season. Other than that, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you guys later this week.